Yeah.
Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Andy, happy birthday to the Deep Dive pod.
Happy birthday to the podcast.
Almost
Weird.
so close. Oh, cheers to Will, of course. So close to lining up episode 500 with the 5th anniversary, but so it goes.
We skipped a couple in the spring and summer when we were lazy. It really came back.
It really came back on us.
Grasshopper and the ant, and we were which was the bad one, the grasshopper?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds right.
Let's dive right into this shit, because I didn't realize, I'm like, fuck, if we spend like 10, 15 minutes on each award, like Will's wife's gonna kill him, because we're gonna be like a 3-hour pod here.
So let's give an appropriate setup here. This is, of course, our Friday series where we get to talk about some fun stuff, and this is one of the ones I was most looking forward to, where we get to break down the awards markets. And again, kind of in the spirit of celebrating our 5th anniversary, I saw a lot of feedback and got some really nice notes from past guests of the deep dive. And I just want to extend a thank you to everyone who has come on before, and everybody has done this, giving up their own time to come and join us and talk and create content for free and give people value without any thanks other than these thanks. And so without further ado, we welcome one of our best friends in the gambling space, Mr. Will Brinson of CBS Sports. And Will is, if you didn't already know, one of the most entertaining listens when it comes to NFL in particular. But just a general raconteur and fun guy to hang out with in a lot of respects. So Will is kind of the perfect guy to help us handicap the awards markets, and really excited to hear where your head is at with some of these big awards, because this wasn't as easy as it has been in years past to pick off value. It feels like in general these are getting a little sharper. We know that the awards markets pools are relatively shallow in terms of money, and so you breathe on them too hard at a market making book and you are going to move these numbers aggressively. So without further ado, Will, welcome back to the deep dive. How is your off season going?
It's going good. And happy birthday to you guys. Cheers again. I'm drinking you can't see it. I'm drinking a pineapple high noon out of my 2017 Masters Cup. I double dip. I put a green one in a green one in a clear one to prevent excessive sweating of my cup.
Of course, well done.
That's
an advantage player move. If I've ever heard one.
And we forgot to do, because we started late. We were this was gonna be in the pre thing. Yeah. We forgot to talk about order. We were gonna do that before we started. Did you have any preference on
MVP?
How about you guys?
MVPs.
You call the order. You call the order, and then I will introduce them with what I've put together.
Well, why don't you set up the format, Andy? And then MVP goes first.
It's a little tricky because some of these, there's clearly almost no signal in what happens. It's like, hey, one of 8 things could happen for defensive rookie of the year to win. That, some of the other ones, there is some signal, and we've seen, changes in the market. There were I think it was offensive rookie of the year. It used to be just 9 out of 10 years, it was a running back for 40 years. Because rookie quarterbacks just didn't start in the 1970s. That was a crazy fucking thing to even talk about. So you just, it wasn't like a quarterback class. But yeah, let's start with MVP. I'll talk about, I took some samples of the last 10 years. I didn't want to go too far back. I just picked a nice round number. I looked at the record. I looked at the years before. I looked at what these players, coaches did. And I put some notes down. I'll talk about what I have, and then we'll just dive right into it. And yeah, let's start with MVP.
I guess you.
Will, I'll give you the chance then. What is the archetype of the MVP in today's NFL?
It is morphed into. It is the professional Heisman. It is the quarterback from the team with the best record, or the team with the. And now you can steal it if you're the most surprising record too. Aaron Rodgers back-to-back years. It also depends on how. So I think
again though, Will, those were both 1 seeds. Like, and
Yeah.
again, going back, so
yeah, he
the past
doesn't win
10
at those either of the last 2 years if they're not the 1 seed.
Correct.
past 10 years, again, we had Adrian Peterson 10 years ago. An event next year, we're going to watch that from our 10-year sample. That was a weird thing where it was almost like comeback player of the year on steroids. Like, hey, shit, he's not just comeback player of the year. He is the MVP because, just what he did. And it was a goofy thing. That was a 6 seed, that Minnesota team. And then from there on out, it was all teams with bias from there on out.
Let's not forget that Peyton effing Manning should have won MVP that year.
That's the biggest
right.
part of that. I remember that's probably the only one where I went into the award show wondering, because I thought like, and back then I was a little more of a Vikings homer. I said like, I hope he wins, but I really think they're going to give it to Peyton Manning, and it was a little bit of a surprise. But yeah, that team was 10-6. It was a 6 seed, did not win their division. Everyone since has 9 straight division winners. There's only been two of the 9 were 2 seeds. The rest of it was, Lamar Jackson 14-2, 1 seed. Cam Newton 15-1, 1 seed. Like, there's a shitload of 1 seeds. They all won their divisions, and all the way back to that Adrian Peterson year, like you said, be the best quarterback on a team that is getting it used to be a team that got a bye, 1 or 2 seed. Now we only give the one seed. And it really, looking at it too, there's probably a bit of a threshold you have to hit. Cam Newton and Lamar Jackson being a little different because they aren't the pure pocket passers and they each had a shitload of yards, but Lamar with 1,200, Cam with 600 and 10 touchdowns that year on the ground. Like, getting that combined 4,000, 4,500 between passing and running. And a lot of them, it's just going to be straight passing and then 35, 40 touchdowns. A couple of these guys cracked 50. So it kind of narrows your pool down. Like, who could win a 1 seed and give me 40 touchdowns?
Well, and those 2 teams, the 2019 Ravens and the 2015 Panthers, win a combined 29-3. So like, if you go 14-2 or 15-1 and you have a huge season as a quarterback, even if it's not pure passing, you're going to be rewarded. I do think that now, look, we talk about, the award. It's also important to remember if for some reason you're new to this, to betting on these particular markets, and we talked about this. I know we chat about this all the time, and we've talked about this before on the show. But like, there are 50 voters, just 50 voters, and it's not like the Heisman where there are like 10,000 voters. There are 50 voters. It's actually kind of like a bizarre group of people. You can find it online that vote for the AP award. Pete Prisco is one of them. Boomer Esiason has a vote. Adam Shine has a vote. I'm just thinking of like CBS people I know, but it's and you have to sort of get in the mindset of, like, first of all, who are these voters? Second of all, like, you can only vote once. You don't vote. It's not like the Heisman. You don't vote for like 3 people. You vote for 1 person for MVP. So that's why in 2000 and it would have been 2013, I think. Let me confirm.
The Manning one?
No, I'm thinking of the no, maybe it's 2014. It's when
14 was Rodgers.
Yes, it was Rodgers. But if you look at, because you can look on Pro Football Reference at the voting.
Yeah.
Do you remember the famous Tony Dungy vote of 2014?
Oh God.
He voted for Bobby Wagner. He cast his vote for Bobby Wagner. Do you know how many games Bobby Wagner played in 2014? 11.
So you're telling me that the voters aren't really the most informed.
Correct.
So my major takeaway then is it doesn't always go to the best player. If there's a clear-cut best player, they will take it away. But the other thing too is that you're dealing with, again, you're not dealing with a huge sample size of voters, and these voters will go rogue, and these voters are very prone. Look at last year's offensive rookie of the year award. These voters are very prone to recency bias. Like they are not afraid. It's like Jamar Chase has a monster week 17 against the Chiefs. They're like, all right, who cares that Mac Jones has been a really surprisingly good quarterback and despite being handicapped with no weapons and leading the Patriots to a playoff berth, and that's been going on all season. And he was minus 1,000 to win the award yesterday.
Jamar Chase had a huge week, so everybody's gonna flip their opinion.
Can I add to that though?
Yeah.
I think recency bias only plays a factor if it's a coin flip.
Oh, agreed. Completely.
Right?
Yeah. For sure.
And I think I'm fine narrowing this down to there at the end of as the dust settles, you need to be a quarterback and you need to have a top 2 seed in your conference, which means that there is a pool of 4 that people choose from, and they tend to then kind of go with, well, who has the most impressive statistical performance? And one of the reasons Aaron Rodgers was successful in kind of being that guy the last 2 years is because his touchdown interception ratio is so impressive, and people just go, fawn over. Wow, look! I mean, he's been so productive, and he never turns the ball over. Like, he kind of gets lauded for that as sort of the reason. But I think ultimately, if you have a pool of 4, it goes to whoever has the most impressive statistical performance, and the voters tend to err on the side of counting stats as opposed to like EPA per play or something more sophisticated.
Oh yeah, we joked about that once on a podcast. We said, do you think a voter has ever looked at like EPA per play or anything beyond
not.
counting?
It's very different than the NBA. Yeah,
it is counting stats. And again, if you end up with this pool at the end of, here's the 4 quarterbacks who have buys or the top 2. And really, I think it's such a small sample that we're looking at. I think a quarterback could get like the 3rd seed and win it if we had a really competitive AFC where it's like, hey, this team won 12 games or 13 games. They got the 3 seed. And but it would take, you would have to have a tiebreaker as far as he had like 50 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It would have to be the outlier. Well, it's it would have to be a really, really good year. So you have I think
that's
you're right.
Same. That's the same commentary about a running back or wide receiver, though, and I think it's fine to just throw that out in terms of concept.
I mean, we're saying that we're just going to throw out running backs forever now because what it would take, like even those years, and this was the funny thing. I said this to Drew or someone earlier. I said all 3 of Aaron Rodgers' MVPs here in these last 10 years have been years that had outlier running backs. Like he's the one keeping the outlier. It was the DeMarco Murray, and then it was Jonathan Taylor, and it was a 2,000-yard season by our guy there, Tractor Cito, and Rodgers came out above all 3 of those. Yeah. The other 7, obviously Peterson won his, but the other 6 years wasn't really a running back that had something eye popping that was going to get you there. So throwing them all out. So who's our pool then for 1 seeds?
I'm down to 12. I'm down to 12.
And by the way, just real quickly, I want to because I found this list. I think this is an older list, but I know that like I so like Aaron Schatz of Football Outsiders has a vote. Carissa Thompson of Fox Sports has a vote.
Oh, okay. So maybe there are some people that look at EPA per play.
Napoleon has a vote.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
R.I.P. John Clayton, he will have to be replaced, but he had a vote. Prisco. There's another.
Who decides who gets that vote?
The Associated Press.
Oh, they kind of.
I know that, but that's
Susie Colbert has a vote.
You can't just say the Associated Press. Like, who is that? Like,
that's not a person.
Like the person in charge of it.
Oh, but no, I think for MVP, if we use our hard criteria for building our pool of top 2 seed and quarterback, I'm down to 12 names.
Okay.
And these 12 names, and then you can argue if you want to add anyone, but these 12 names in no particular order are Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady.
Yes.
Those are the easy ones. I think you also have to include Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Matt Stafford.
Yes.
And then these are the borderline guys: Hurts, Lance, and Matt Ryan.
So Herbert and Wilson are off of your.
Wilson and Herbert are in. Are on my list.
Yeah. I think,
those guys are clear. Let me reread them. Tier 1: Allen, Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady.
Yep.
Tier 2: Herbert, Wilson, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Matt Stafford.
Yep.
Tier 3: Hurts, Lance, Matt Ryan. That's 12 guys.
I think you probably have to include Dak Prescott in there as well.
You think there's any realistic possibility of the Cowboys getting a top 2 seed in the NFC?
Eagles can, the Cowboys can, yeah.
Because the NFC is weak.
Yeah, NFC's weak, and the NFC East in particular could be.
Okay, so we're 13 with Dak.
And for this reason, this is why I don't like betting into the MVP market because there are just so many. And think about like what it would have taken to predict some of the things like the Cam Newton year, the Lamar Jackson year. Like that stuff was just, if we'd have sat down and made those lists, I don't know that those guys would have been on the lists. Like that Cam Newton team was 500-ish the year before. They weren't looking great. There's some injuries.
I'm fairly certain they won the division with a losing record.
They won the division with a 7-8-1 record. Yeah. It was not even quite. Not even. I gave him.
I think Lamar Jackson did too the previous year, right? You definitely made the playoffs.
Both of those players won the division.
Started the first half of the season. Lamar came in. Remember,
took that Ravens team.
Harbaugh's going to get fired. And then Lamar comes in.
We liked Lamar and the Ravens at the end of the season. We bet them to make the playoffs, but I don't think seeing that leap was happening. And to be fair, on the podcast, we both did talk about betting some Josh Allen at a decent price. But other than that, my betting strategy is in season. I'm not taking any more swings because, like Drew said, my list is like 14 guys long. I don't really want to try to build a portfolio of this. I'm taking a swing because I really think Josh Allen's number was too big when we bet it, and that's it.
Well, I like to rant about what sports books have done in terms of shrinking down first touchdown scoring odds, where they basically made it like an impossible market to bet by shortening everyone's odds to the point where it's not realistic. I think that the same thing has happened with the MVP award, primarily because books got burnt by Patrick Mahomes and Lamar, and then again by Aaron Rodgers, who were all three definitely Mahomes was like 75-1 at one point. So was Lamar until he shrunk. And then Rodgers, that first MVP he won 2 years ago, people thought he was toast. I mean, the Packers thought he was toast. They drafted Jordan Love. So I look at this and to me, you have all those guys that we mentioned plus Kyler Murray. And I'm looking at DraftKings because I couldn't find it on Bookmaker, but all those guys are 20-1 or shorter. That is not a realistic market. 20-1 is not a fair price for Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts. Like the odds of the Eagles being the number 1 or number 2 seed in the NFC is not and everything else working out to the point that Hurts has to be the guy that voters go for. It's not 20-1. And so I think that because of the long shots hitting, this market has been shrunk. And to that point, it leaves you with you almost have to go outside of your pool or find somebody like a Trey Lance at 40-1, I see, or Matt Ryan 35-1. I mean, like Kirk Cousins isn't winning this award. I mean, 50-1, like you're setting money on fire. I mean, it's going to be a quarterback. And so Baker Mayfield at 80-1, like that's not a realistic price. Baker Mayfield needs to be like 300-1 to win MVP.
Well, and not only that, like you talk about the Eagles stuff, and this is, again, why I'm not betting into this market much. If you think the Eagles are going to be that good, there's other ways to bet it.
Yeah, sure. Bet them to bet the 1 seed. Yeah.
Bet them to be the highest, best record in the NFC. Right. Like that stuff
most
happens.
Wins 20-1. Yeah,
and he does win the MVP a lot. Like a bunch of other things happen.
We agree. Okay. So for clarity, we bet Josh Allen. It was at 750 at the time. He's down to plus 550 at the market makers. I bet Trey Lance at 50 and 60-1. He's down to 18-1 at Chris.
He's still 40-1. He's 18-1.
Yeah.
So I think Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance at 40-1 is still a bettable number.
I do too.
Because if you think about the archetype so I mean, like we just recorded a Pick Six podcast, and somebody was asking about Coach of the Year, which we'll get to, and I'll repeat this in a few minutes, I'm sure. But it's like they were like, well, it was like Coach of the Year. It involves expectations. All of these awards, MVP involves expectations, and when Patrick Mahomes, and I'm not saying Trey Lance is going to come out and throw for 50 touchdowns and 5,000 passing yards. That's not happening. But if you think about it, highly regarded rookie who's raw and talented, with a ton of upside, sits for a year, learns a system with a veteran ceiling capped quarterback running things, Alex Smith, Jimmy Garoppolo, under a coach who is widely regarded for his offensive acumen and the ease of use of the playbook that makes life easier for the decision maker at quarterback, just like Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan. You have Deebo Samuel in play. You have all these weapons in play, and you're in a division where you're going to have to score some points to keep, like they're gonna have to score, and he's not gonna be game managing it, I don't think. So Trey Lance, to me, because the expectations are sort of unknown, if the Niners win that division and get the 2 seed, or even certainly the 1 seed, like voters are absolutely willing to embrace the new shiny toy versus like they're not gonna, like if Trey Lance and Aaron Rodgers at the end of the year, they'll go Trey Lance if things are close because they won't want to go 3 straight for Rodgers. Now,
right. Plus the idea that Rodgers even meets his last 2 years this year without Adams is virtually 0.
Right. Exactly.
I'm ready to throw him just on that alone.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they'll run the ball more too, which means Rodgers won't have his stats won't be as good. The one that I do think that voters are, I think this group of voters in particular are dying to give this award to Josh Allen. Like
that was part of our presentation. And we compared it to Steph Curry's Finals MVP. It's like
it's like don't you give us a reason not to do this?
Like the voters are going to be mad if he doesn't win the title, so they can't give him the award at this point. So I feel that way. And the Lance thing, the Lance thing is, I implore you, don't go bet Lance 18-1, guys.
No, hell no.
It was a great bet at a long
I'm just telling you
price.
because bookmaker says it's 18-1 that's now the fair price.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a good chance Lance Young sucks and never plays it down after this year. Like, he is an FCS quarterback that we really haven't seen. Like, there's a decent sized possibility he's not even a starter after this year because it's like, oh no, this didn't work. Like, that happens
They'll give him
plenty.
2 years.
I think
they'd have a camp battle next year and he'd lose it to after they bring in Kirk. But
I think if under your scenario, like everybody's fired.
Everybody's fired, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, you're probably right. So
okay, wait.
Right,
so let me real quick. Throwing out Mahomes because the AFC West is too competitive. Throwing out Herbert because the AFC West is too competitive. Throwing out Burrow because the AFC North is too competitive. Throwing out Lamar because the AFC North is too competitive. Wilson out because the West is too competitive. Rodgers out because there's no way he can reach his statistical threshold from last year. Brady, I think you can throw out because he's not reaching his statistical threshold from last year. Plus the Bucs, no way in my mind are a lock to win the South as it is. We're down to Josh Allen and long shots, really. Stafford, I think you can throw out because of the elbow questions and, just in general, too much credit goes to Kupp, too much credit goes to McVay there for Stafford to really get serious consideration.
I think Stafford at 20-1 or more for Stafford, I would be interested in that because it's the second year of the system. Like, there's a chance he just explodes and has like a really efficient monster year. Okay. All the reports out of Rams camp are that Allen Robinson is a red zone animal, which could.
Yeah, I don't have any Stafford yet. Now I'm gonna have to go get some. All right. Well,
but I think this is
I agree with you. I agree.
But it's a good time to buy Stafford because of the elbow injury. Like, I think his price will drop in the next coming weeks if he's not out on the field, and like the Lance hype is building because Lance and Stafford are, I guess, negatively correlated. Like
that's true.
If Lance's hype is going up,
right.
Yeah. Is that 100%? Did I say that right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So Josh Allen's to lose, and if he loses this to Trey Lance, I love that. I love how that broke.
Let me ask you this because I've got this queued up on hashtag my local right now.
Okay.
Josh Allen 669.
That's bettable. Yeah.
Okay. Trey Lance 35-1. Getting close. It's getting close.
That's close to fair for me.
I want a bigger one.
But it's not going to get
bigger. I feel like we're going to have shots at him.
Dude, have you been watching these training camp videos that they're putting out on Lance? Like,
have you watched?
Dude, what do you mean? You think you're going to have a shot at him after he plays the Bears week 1? No.
Give me mid-season. So. Give me mid-season, and at that point, I'll probably just not betting him.
Two points of and then I'll shut up about this. But the Chiefs open with the Chiefs or the Bucs that I'm thinking.
Chiefs open with the Cardinals and the
Cardinals, Chargers. No, right? It's not the Chiefs.
Cardinals and
it's
Chargers. Yeah.
Oh, it's I think that this is a in-season bettable MVP situation.
Okay.
The Buccaneers open at Cowboys, at Saints, Packers at home, Chiefs at home. Like, they could be 1-3 realistically with and Tom Brady at that point. They could be 0-4. Yeah.
What's
If they're
Fournette's
one-
number then?
If they're 1-3 or 0-4, Tom Brady's gonna be like 40-1 to win MVP.
Great point.
And so they get the Falcons, Steelers, Panthers, and Ravens and Rams at home, and then the Seahawks at home. Like they could
There
rip
is a
off.
certain bit of narrative around like overcoming the slow start too.
Oh,
And,
that's the
and,
thing, like-
and the injured center, like, and Godwin's hurt, like, oh, Brady's doing it again, like,
Oh,
yeah.
one
Sure,
last
you're sure.
one last ride.
Plus, he should have won it last year. So yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that is a very fair point. Let's move on to defensive player of the year. Andy,
shit,
what is your
throwing-
archetype?
You're
What's
throwing
your
it out of
archetype?
order.
Defensive player of the year. What's your archetype?
Oh, okay. Oh shit. Yeah, I forgot. I had a trivia question for you with each award, and I forgot my MVP one. All right. Defensive player of the year who's also won MVP. No, this is defensive rookie of the year, maybe I'm looking at right now. No, defensive player of the year also won MVP
Lawrence Taylor.
twice. One went to sit on a Supreme Court at a certain state I live in and win the Medal of Freedom, and the other is a registered sex offender.
Jesse the Body Ventura and Lawrence Taylor.
Alan Page. Alan Page got it.
Oh,
really?
They're calling it the Rashawn Gary Award in the stats here, but this is another one. Both the defensive ones were a little tough to grab. And again, this was one too where like, hey, linebackers won this a lot back in the day because like, hey, that guy has a lot of tackles.
Wait,
And
I
also-
got an MVP trivia for you too.
Oh, wait, I didn't do MVP. That was
Oh,
my
then
defensive
I'll make
player.
up for the fact that you didn't
All
have
right,
any.
go do the my MVP one. The answer was Dan Fouts.
Okay. What year and who was it? The only time in NFL history that a kicker won MVP.
That's the same thing.
1982.
Yeah, mine was the Mark Mosley. So Mark
82,
Mosley won
right?
the award
The strike year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
strike shortened year.
It's really the
football-
only good MVP
yeah.
trivia, honestly.
No, the pro football writers of America said we're not having that and gave theirs to this quarterback and Waterboy
Oh.
co-star.
Oh, that's the
Who
Dan Fouts one?
famously said to Brent Musburger, Bobby Boucher sure knocked the poop out of him. That's his most famous line on TV. But okay, defensive player of the year was hard to get a grasp on because, again, you've had defensive ends win it, which has been sort of common for a while. But over the past 4 years, it's been 2 tackles, which were the same guy. 5 years, 3 tackles that were the same guy. And then you had the Stephen Gilmore year. You had TJ
Stephon.
Watt last year, which I say
Yeah,
Stephen.
Stephon,
I know
yeah.
it's Stephon. It drives me up a wall
Stephen
when people use
Gilmore.
Stephon.
You did it the other day.
all I can
and
think of
didn't
is
correct you,
Urkel
but
and
I can't let
Urkel.
it happen twice. Yeah.
Or Stephon Urkel. I looked for signal in their defensive rankings as a team. Wasn't really. There were some of these guys that have won Defensive Player of the Year where they're, depending what metric you want to use, like this wasn't that great of a defense. So a couple of times it felt like there were some things, and I'll go back real quick through it. TJ Watt felt like it was a spot where he's been on the radar for a couple of years. Like we said with Josh Allen, like this guy's gotten votes for 3 years. It's finally time to, give him one. Aaron Donald, apparently there was no fatigue in that. Even his first one there, it was, a decent amount of sacks for an interior lineman, but the stats weren't crazy. That defense was ranked 19th in points per game, his first win. So we've had some weird ones here, and I think 20 sacks kind of gets you there because JJ Watt twice with 20 and a half.
That's
Donald
a short
with 20.
circuit, though. That's a shortcut.
That's hard to and it's impossible to predict that.
That's
like,
a Konami. It's a Konami code. I mean, like if you get 20,
that's a
like you're-
shortcut.
Yeah.
sure.
From a betting standpoint, that's what I was saying. Like this is such a hard one because if you get to 20 sacks and you're the leader in sacks, you're probably getting it. And if you have the Stephon Gilmore year where you have 6 picks and house a couple of them and you're on, that was a good defense.
So
that
tell
was
me,
that was a top 1 defense. So like,
yeah.
You really got to start looking at
But-
guys
so-
who are on the radar already for this, and it kind of leads you to Dallas if you think that's repeatable, because I think they were dying to give it to him a little bit too, but you couldn't ignore TJ Watt.
Yeah, he was the best defensive player last
It's
year.
it goes to the guy with the most sacks, the most impact plays, high profile plays, and if not, they default to who is
the best defensive player
on one of the best defensive teams.
Yeah.
Like you look at Luke Kuechly, He won AP Defensive Rookie of the Year, and then his second season won Defensive Player of the Year. Panthers were a top 2 defensive team.
Yeah,
Kuechly had a bunch
second best defense as far as points per game, and again, 156 tackles, 4 picks, and also a good team. A lot of these, none of these teams finished. Yeah, none of the teams finished worse.
Non-pass rushers. It typically goes to a top-end defensive player on a top-end defensive team that was like a story in the league, like the 2010 was Palomalu, 2010 Steelers,
sure.
2011 Ravens, Kuechly, 2013 Panthers, 2019 with Stephon Gilmore. Otherwise, it's just the best pass rusher.
Yes, I agree with that. So yes, the best pass rusher conditional on obtaining the counting stats.
Yes.
And if you don't get them, then the default goes to, well, who is the best defensive team? And is there a standout player on that defense that we can give the credit to? I think that is it. And I almost think that part 2 of that, I think if you're betting this market, I think part 2 of that, you kind of have to just not go there, right? Like it's very, very tough to predict who's going to be the best defense when the dust settles.
Explain either of you. Explain the Khalil Mack one then. Like that defense wasn't that good. It was a good team. It wasn't a highly ranked defense.
Well, that was counting stats, right?
No, he had like 11 sacks. That's the one that
wasn't there like there was some forced fumbles. Did he have some touchdowns that year?
No, I'm saying this one just doesn't like he had one touchdown.
He recovered 3 fumbles. 3 fumbles. He forced 5 fumbles.
That's what I'm saying. All of them are good, but not great.
You know what it might be though? There's a little trap door here. In 2016, the Raiders were shockingly good. Like no one saw them coming. That was
the record is the only thing I can judge because the defense wasn't great.
Derek Carr broke his leg on Christmas Eve, I think, or Christmas Day, whatever. I think it was Christmas Eve. They were playing because he and Mariota broke their legs at like the exact same time. Isn't that right? I think it was Mariota. Maybe anyway.
Sure.
I think that there was an interest in rewarding the Raiders. Like Derek Carr was getting MVP buzz, and it was like, how do we reward the Raiders? And I think that's sort of that's the only answer I've got.
That makes sense because they were 12-4. Like I said, man, the only thing is like this was a good team and he was a standout for that defense, but he really he got a little bit of voting a couple years before for defensive rookie of the year. Didn't get any defensive player of the year votes the year before at all.
Here are the guys.
He had 15 sacks that year, the year before. So I mean, maybe he was in their minds a little, I guess.
Here are the guys who got votes in 2016 for defensive player of the year of the 50 votes. Khalil Mack got 18 of them. That is a really, really low number. Like that's a very close vote.
Von Miller's gotten 50.
Yeah, that's unanimous, as they say. Von Miller got 17. It was a snake, right? Like he barely got him. Number 3, I bet I could give you 100 guess. I don't know, Andy, have you looked at these? I
haven't looked at the voting for that
yet. Like I can give you 100 guesses. I don't think you would get this player because it's
Quan Alexander.
That's a good guess, but no. Like,
Andy,
you can have one random guess.
Everson Griffin.
No, that's a good guess too.
Vic Beasley.
Landon Collins.
What?
Yeah,
Landon Collins got 9 votes. He got 9 votes. He got 18% of the voting share.
Did he lead the league at inch or something?
Next up, this bum named Aaron Donald got 3 votes.
Wow.
Sean Lee got 2 votes, and Eric Berry got a vote. Like this is just
that's chaos.
It's a chaos year. That's what.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this is a hard one. This is a really hard one. So getting a shitload of sacks helps. Being that guy, being a known quantity, and really there weren't a ton of teams where they were bad. Like there wasn't a losing record in the last 10 years for a defensive player of the year. So
I got to tell you,
being first or second in the division, only one of these teams missed the playoffs out of the last 10 years, and that was a JJ Watt 20 sack season. So like, how are you narrowing this down then?
Okay. Based on this little conversation about Khalil Mack and trying to work this out, I feel like there's an N-1, right? It's like the previous year. If you kind of you planned your flag, if you arrived the previous year, then you're automatically in consideration regardless.
So if the Cowboys are halfway decent, he's getting a shitload of votes.
It's like the preseason poll in college football. There's a predetermined bias to prefer these teams if they're successful. Just like they're like, all right, Micah Parsons, like he's going to be picked. He's going to be a sexy pick to be Defensive Player of the Year by people who actually vote on it. So if he can, like, his bar, what the bar he has to clear to be rewarded
Anthony
with votes
Barr,
is
literally
much lower. Yeah. The what?
Anthony Barr, literally.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I think, like TJ Watt 7-1. TJ Watt has to break his own sack record like to get that award. I mean, it's just
insane. Yeah, insane. Okay, so who are some guys who flat out arrived last year, Will, who we should pick from? Besides Micah Parsons, which is too easy. I think we can all guess that Garrett's probably not going to. Yeah, Garrett may not be able to reproduce, and he's starting to become old news. TJ Watt just got his. He's probably old news.
Max Crosby.
Max Crosby arrived. That's a great call. Crosby, Parsons. Wow, is he really that old? He's going to be playing a lot of prime, a lot of big time games down the stretch in a competitive division. A guy I brought up this week, Andy, who is 65-1, who kind of arrived last year in my mind, is Jeffrey Simmons of the Titans.
Yes.
Is he on the mind in the mind's eye of the voters? Have they heard of him yet, or is he like? Are we 2 years away from that?
No. He is. He's on the guys who are big film guys. Pete Prisco loves Jeffrey Simmons.
Okay. 65-1 is interesting there.
8.5 sacks from the interior too. Yeah. Because remember, these are the same voters who vote for the All-Pro teams.
AP, yeah.
And he was a second-team All-Pro and made the Pro Bowl. So he is
ascending into this.
If he's a second-team All-Pro, he is on the minds of these voters.
Okay. How about Eric, our guy, PFF Eric, brought up Rashawn Gary at a much better price than is currently available. Is he in the mind's eye of the voters?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
If not, he is. Yeah, he is. He's probably a little bit behind Jeffrey Simmons, but he is definitely an ascending player in the minds of voters. And if for some reason, the Packers are a good team again that runs the ball a bunch and has, forcing other teams to drop back a bunch, Gary could load up on sacks. And if he gets double-digit sacks, he will be in the conversation.
Yeah, I think Packers a very likely team to land in the top 10 some assumed top 10 in the minds of the voters. Titans similarly, I think their defense is going to be considered good when the dust settles. Max Crosby maybe as well. And then of course, Micah Parsons. Anyone besides those four on your mind, Andy, as we're talking through this criteria?
Yeah, he didn't have the All-Pro voting, but he lines up in a better spot to get the counting stats. Harold Landry, same team, good defense. Those are both tough ones because I think either Simmons or Landry has to get it has to be like an 18 sack season. And nobody else can have 20. So those are tough ones, but some nights are long shots. And to Will's point, he didn't get the Pro Bowl or the All-Pro tag. So that kind of stinks. But he was a Pro Bowler, and he lines up outside. We're edge rusher. Let's get some edge rusher. We've had enough of this defensive interior bullshit with Aaron, which is amazing. It's been, and again, showing where I'm from, but since Keith Millard, that you've seen something like that from the inside, to have that many, to break 20 sacks where Aaron Donald lines up.
Well, you could argue JJ Watt too, but I mean, different.
I mean, that was
he's an end, but in the 3-4, right?
Yeah. So
the other guy
how
that
many does he have? 3, 2.
Watt has 3.
3. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
The other guy that stands out in a big way to me, and again, I'm looking at DraftKings just because Bookmaker I didn't see the whole list on there. It looked like it cut it off.
Does he play for the Patriots?
He does not. He plays. I'll give you a hint. He doesn't wear gloves.
Ooh. Man, this is tough. Who is it?
I have.
Trey Hendrickson.
Oh, of course. We just fucking talked about that too.
But he's an ascending player who now in the second year in this Lou Anarumo defense. As I mentioned you guys before the show, Prisco told me the defense looks loaded. The Bengals are a good team. The Browns are probably going to be without Watson. The Steelers are going to maybe take a step back. So this is a team that's and I see him 40-1 at DraftKings.
Hendrickson?
Yeah, it's better book. Yeah,
it's 14 snaps last year. What if he just?
Yeah.
I mean,
and that was coming off a year he got paid.
Yep,
Like
exactly.
that would have been presumably the year that you kind of
I don't hate that.
Yeah.
He's 27. And he's still in his prime. Good defense on a team that could conceivably have some lead.
Yeah, in the blind, he's a realistic candidate to lead the league in sacks.
Absolutely.
Okay, I like that.
If you get 14 with the, and like, sorry, go ahead.
And that's where I'm at with this. Like, I'm going to take some longer shots on getting 20 sacks. Like, I'll take a few shots at 40-1, 60-1. I'm fine with that. Yeah. That's how I'm approaching this market.
So I guess as a collective, we're okay.
Crash.
We're okay fading the chalk in this market.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. That's the play.
The other two non-pass rushers that I take every year, and I don't know why I'm like reading the comments because I do it for my show all the time. Like I love reading the comments; they're great. Somebody noted Shaq, nay Darius Leonard, and Derwin James. Those two guys I take every year because if in lieu of a huge sack season, those guys are capable of putting up some sacks, a bunch of forced fumbles, interceptions, and a ton of tackles. And just, you could see the Colts or the Chargers be very good. I think the Colts with the Gus Bradley thing is a little more concerning. But those teams both win their division and, or at least be make the playoffs, win double digits. And both those guys have huge numbers across the board. And you sort of get a Luke Kuechly style victory.
Okay. Can't disagree with that. But price, at least at DraftKings, is not bettable.
I would.
Yeah.
All right. Name an award, Drew.
Offensive Rookie of the Year. Will, what is the archetype for Offensive Rookie of the Year?
It is. Is it not? I feel like they want to give it to a quarterback.
Oh yeah.
But in lieu of a good quarterback, it is simply the best offensive, the most explosive offensive performance from either a running back or a wide receiver. And I do tend to think that they will. So like Josh Jacobs probably should have won over Kyler Murray. But because Kyler plays quarterback, he got it.
I think Justin Jefferson was that year too, wasn't he? No.
Justin Jefferson was the Herbert. Yeah.
Jefferson got beat by
Herbert. He would have won that quite a few different years.
AJ Brown got beat by Murray too. AJ Brown was pretty damn good as the rookie.
Herbert Justin Jefferson's rookie year was insane. And the voting split on that 41-9 for Justin Herbert. Like that's the default for the quarterbacks in this market.
Okay.
It was such a weird year. We had 5 quarterbacks last year. And we said, what are the odds one of these guys doesn't hit at least, right? Yeah, 3 of them are starting on day 1. We're going to get one of these. And it was Chase. Oh, that's my trivia. 3rd Bengals wide receiver to win Rookie of the Year. Name literally either of the other ones.
What?
3rd Bengals wide receiver to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I was just looking at
name literally anything.
Chris Collinsworth.
No, he played the USFL. What are you nuts?
Carl Pickens?
He didn't really.
Maybe
Carl Pickens.
Carl Pickens won Rookie of the Year, really?
Carl Pickens won Rookie of the Year. The other one was Eddie Brown.
What?
Back then it was heavy running back during those seasons too. Again,
okay.
But my archetype was.
By the way, I got a trivia question for you too. Name the 4 people who received votes for Offensive Rookie of the Year last season. 2 of them, obviously.
Jesus. Mac Jones and Jamar Chase got votes.
There was another running back.
Waddle.
Probably had
Did Waddle get vote? Waddle didn't get vote,
but he didn't get votes.
There's only 3 votes available. One guy got 2, and one guy got 1.
Oh my god!
Did Parsons get one?
Offensive.
Well, he was defensive. Yeah.
I've been MVP.
Oh, you know who should have gotten consideration, but I don't know if he did. It was Rashawn Slater.
That guy was one of them. That's one of them. Yes.
Oh, he did. He got a vote. Oh, good. Because he was the second. He was the second most valuable Charger last year after Justin
Correct.
Herbert.
Now I'll give you a hint. Because that was the trivia. Is like it's an offensive lineman. The other guy is also an offensive lineman.
What?
Yeah, the other guy who got 2 votes. He got 2 votes as an offensive lineman.
You could give me 100 guesses. I don't think I'm going to get it. Who is it?
Creed Humphrey.
Creed Humphrey got votes for offensive.
What?
So again, this just ties back to you got to remember people are voting on this stuff, and you're putting money on this. So my archetype here was
Slater should have gotten some more. Yeah. Like Slater deserved votes. Like that's not.
Yeah,
he really did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Creed Humphrey was really good, but like
what I dug into here was the guy has to play a lot of games. Like you cannot win this if you bet. Like
No,
really,
it's volume.
The
Volume.
outlier from the last 10 years is really Odell Beckham Jr. He missed 4 games. That's a lot compared to everybody else. But I mean, he put up 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns in 12 games. What are you going to do? You don't have to be on a good team. Only half
you do not.
Only half of the 10 teams made the playoffs even.
Wow.
And 4 out of the 5 were a 4 seed. There was only one seed in there, and that was, of course, your Dallas Cowboys, which was how the fuck were you going to predict that unless you're sports cheetah? And his analogy was the most beautiful thing he ever said. He said, I'm parlaying that the Cowboys offense is still good and Tony Romo gets injured at 1,000-1. He's like, that's a parlay, or he's like, that's worth it. And he had a sick number on that. So, I mean, Will's right. It really, really, really helps. Like he said, they want to give it to a quarterback, but in lieu of a quarterback, you have to have a season. Saquon, 1,300. And I mean, you basically have to have almost 2,000 yards. Like if you're a running back, combined. Saquon had 1,300 and 715 touchdowns. Kamara had 700 and 800, 13 touchdowns. You had Gurley with a really big season, double-digit touchdowns. Lacey with 1,500 and 11 touchdowns. Like the running back only happens if the quarterbacks aren't there and they have that sort of season.
Okay, well, let me ask you
that's my first question, Drew. Is there a running back who's a rookie this year who can run for 1,000 yards?
Well, I think we've been over this with Will, but we don't believe Etienne is like in consideration, even though he did not take a snap next year.
Yeah, we talked about
that.
They
by the way, Ben Roethlisberger, second quarterback ever to win AP Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2004, and since counting Ben, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quarterbacks have won it since then.
Okay, well, let's start at quarterback.
Let's give the guy chances
because I'm not seeing a running back with enough volume to get consideration.
No,
but I want to touch on quarterback because I don't get this price. What do you think of Kenny Pickett at 500-1? I make him like 200-1.
It's horrendous. You're saying like 5-1.
Oh, plus 500. Oh, I thought that said 500-1. No, that was a joke. Why in the fuck is Kenny Pickett 5-1? Who? What is?
He's a top 3 quarterback on that team.
He should literally be.
Can I play sound drop?
That was good. That was very good. He should literally be 200-1, and he's 5-1. I do not understand that.
He's like 6-1 to start a game this year.
I just said you have to play like 13, 14 games. The odds of him playing that many games is 5, 6, 7-1 at best. So like throwing out all the running backs.
Yes.
Is it just? Are we at?
This is
we have to
wide
receiver.
What wide receiver gets the most volume? I think is the name of the game this year.
Yeah, the numbers on like Willis, Ritter, Corral, like those are fun, but you have to do a lot of predicting and hoping, and they also have to work out, and they have to probably start 10, 12 games at a bare minimum. So it's really predicting the wide receiver who makes the biggest impact and puts up the biggest counting stats. And we've really, in the last 10 years, it's been Odell and Jamar.
Here's one that's probably worth consideration now, and probably was worth more consideration yesterday before the Rodgers made his comments. But Romeo Doubs, is it Doubs?
Sure.
Doubs.
Doubs.
Doubs. He's 35-1.
Doubs.
35-1 is not great because but Rodgers said that he's made wow plays every day, and basically said he reminds him of like he gave him praise along the lines of like Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, et cetera, young guys who came in and were impact early, and the absence of Devontae Adams here, plus you guys know from chat with like freaking Allen Lazard arguments. I mean, Lazard is the one, but is he really a number one? I think Romeo at 35-1 is better than Christian Watson at 11.
Yeah, I agree with that. But my only problem with all of that is that Aaron Rodgers also compared Rasul Douglas to Charles Woodson yesterday. So he was clearly tripping balls.
I know, like I told that I was talking to producer Dan about this. I said, I've been a prisoner of the moment too many times where I'm going to miss out on one of these guys because I really struggle to bet on a guy because they said something positive about him in camp because there's so much of it. Like And I bet on Tolbert, but again, I will bet on a rookie who has extra opportunity thanks to injuries.
Sure.
But otherwise, I said a couple years ago, I did this in camp. All of a sudden, it's like I have 12 rookie of the year bets. What the fuck am I doing with my life? Like
you got to throw darts though this year, I think.
Yeah, and at this point, like,
it's going to be a wide receiver.
Dubs was a good bet
board.
At a big number. Like if you got a triple digit number on him, that's a good bet because he's with an elite quarterback and he could be a big part of that offense. And you're banking on, all the other wide receivers not stinking, but not getting to his level. So I mean, finding a good receiver with a good offense, and again, it doesn't have to be a great team, but when it's been a receiver of late, those teams have been decent-ish. Although the Odell team was 6-10, they didn't make the playoffs. So
but Odell,
when the wide receiver in the mix, it's a good enough team. Yeah,
like he had the catch on prime time, and he was just a monster.
That didn't hurt.
Speaking of Odell and the Giants, I think Wan'Dale Robinson at 75-1 is a good look. He's been getting a lot of camp buzz.
Okay.
And he's going to get opportunity.
Yeah. And like they've gone from absolutely dog shit incompetent coaching to Brian Dable, who should be able to get some good stuff out of him. We talked about, there's some running backs on here that are interesting prices too. Tyler Algier, 50-1. He could just be the Falcons' #1 running back and he might get it on volume for a bad team. That's not out of the question at all. Their running back group is not great. And I think they've been talking about splitting Cordarrelle Patterson out more just because they need to sort of.
And they might be running the ball late just because it's like, hey, we're down by 28. Why?
We can't expose Mariota and Desmond Ridder. Yeah.
Fair.
I this clicked in my head when I forgot we talked about this on your NBC show, Drew, but Zonovan Knight, a lot of stuff has to happen. I understand it. Breece Hall, et cetera. But excuse me. And then I sort of wonder if like it wouldn't be that crazy given the nature of this very poor offensive class as a whole, like it's skill guys and quarterbacks.
Sure.
If we saw 2 different offensive linemen get votes last year, like Ike Ekwonu, what if the Panthers somehow, and look, a lot has to happen, but somehow crack their ceiling and win 9 games or 8-9, whatever it is, and are a fringe playoff team or sneaking as a wild card, and Baker is protected and isn't getting sacked, and Icky is playing really well. Like I think if there ever was a year where the voters are like, no one's done anything. Like Breece Hall, is like, splitting carries. None of these wide receivers pop. If there ever was a year when offensive linemen would win it, this would be it. But I mean, it's obviously 100-1. So,
I think Neal's probably more likely than Icky, just because you could see a seismic leap from a Jones, but
how did we not see this coming?
Will making a case making a case for
I looked at Neal, and Neal is like a better answer, but I was like, no.
I think again, but we're in the same kind of headspace where, like, if you could, I was a light fade the chalk in the defensive player of the year market. I'm a heavy fade the chalk.
Chalk is a disaster in this market.
Disaster.
16-1 and Matt Corral's 25-1. He's the 3rd string quarterback for the Panthers.
Disaster. Yeah, the whole top.
I bet a little bit of chalk here when the market opened, and it just because, and you agree with this, we are really kind of high on what the Saints could be.
Sure. Sell me this Olave.
Like Olave was 12-1. I was fine taking a little chalk, but other than that, it's going to be big numbers on receivers that I think get volume. And like Tolbert when he got hurt, anybody who grabbed Dubs when he was 100. If you can get the good numbers on some receivers that have the upside, you can have a portfolio of like 6 guys and hope one of them gets to 1,000 yards.
I would say Olave, very realistic chance that he leads in volume.
That's the bet there. He's just going to get a shitload of targets.
Yeah, for sure. But Romeo Dubs, you can still get at 35-1. Don't hate that. I can't believe that Jalen Tolbert is down to 12-1. That ship has long since sailed.
God, I love Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah, you can't bet 12-1 with them though.
RIP the John Michie bets we made on the NBC show.
Oh my goodness!
I have one too.
I know it. It's rough, man.
We wish him well, obviously, but that's our first loss of the year.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, how about defensive rookie there? I think this one is a lot cleaner. Who gets the most counting stats between the top 3 guys? Because this is going to a pass rusher, and it is almost certainly between Hutchinson, Walker, and Thibodeau. Is that a fair way to look at this awards market, Andy?
Yeah, real. My note, and we had 2 cornerbacks in the last 10 years.
They led the league in interceptions as cornerbacks.
Like and that's the thing. Like looking at that is, you have to predict.
Excuse me, Lattimore didn't lead it, but he had a.
I mean, but look at his season. Like,
well, and don't forget that the 2017 Saints draft, the Saints had Kamara win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Lattimore. That draft with Ramczyk, Lattimore, Marcus Williams, and Kamara, that changed the Saints. They went 7-9 3 years in a row, and then all of a sudden we're a Super Bowl contender. So it was like easy to point at those guys for being the reason for the Saints turnaround.
I agree.
This was a super weird one. Also, the trivia came from the weirdness of the Wikipedia page. In 1980, 2 teammates won the award together. Falcons linebackers Al Richardson and Buddy Curry. First off, what the fuck is that? In 1980, the very first wild card team won the Super Bowl with the Raiders that year down in New Orleans. Named their starting right guard, who was also a lovable and sadly passed on Players Association chief.
Oh my God.
I'll let Will get
that.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Will.
Yeah. By the way, the Buddy Curry, Al Richardson year, they each got 23.5 votes.
What?
I didn't have time to dig into this. What happened? If there was some sort of voting cabal, but either way, you're right. So getting sacks like you saw Micah Parsons, like we saw Chase Young, like you saw Joey Bosa,
Nick Bosa too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Nick Bosa. Yeah. Nick Bosa had 9. Joey had 10.5. If you can get a double-digit sack.
I mean, Darius Leonard had 7 and 163 tackles plus.
Yeah, the linebacker thing, yes. If you can get that many tackles and be just a player that pops. By the way, Leonard, the only player in the past 10 years that was not a first-round draft pick.
Oh, that's
out of any of these guys. So, I mean, to Drew's point, we talk about fading the chalk. That's the only thing I came up with here is like, it's going to be someone who's pretty chalky unless you get something like the Micah Parsons thing where it's like, hey, we're using him differently and it just worked out. And people aren't going to be able to see that thing, that sort of thing coming for the most part. So who among the chalk do you think has the opportunity to get the counting stats and was probably a first round pick here is kind of where I'm at.
Trayvon Walker sure looked good last night. And we sort of owe the guy. We owe the guy a little.
I mean, I do think that realistically, the Jaguars defense is going to be perceived as taking a leap, going from 32nd to league average.
Josh Allen on the other side, he won't be, he's not going to see those double teams.
I think Hutchinson's in the same boat, although Hutchinson, I think, gets to go up against weaker offensive lines. So he has to have the edge. And I think Thibodeau, expecting him to be healthy and give you 17 games is asking a lot out of the guy who couldn't do that in college.
I won't spend much time on this because we've already kind of discussed this on the pod, but I said, I think Thibodeau is your long-term best player of the 3 for an NFL career, but Hutchinson's opportunities against some of the offensive lines and quarterbacks he's going to face, we kind of decided shit, man, this guy could have a couple games where he's hitting the quarterback 8 times. And if he has the ball on a few of those, all of a sudden it's how did this guy get to 12 sacks already? And we have a game left.
There's precedent for a guy without counting stats to win the award from New York, and it's Sheldon Richardson. How in the fuck did he win? How did this happen?
3.5 sacks, 75 tackles,
42 totals, or 75
1 forced fumble.
Oh yeah.
It was just a down year.
Yeah.
Sheldon Richardson, 23 votes. Kiko Alonso, 19 votes. Kenny Vaccaro, 4 votes. Starlet Alele, 2, and of course,
Tyrann Mathieu.
Tyrann Mathieu got 2 votes. That's how John Breach pronounces Tyrann Mathieu.
God damn it! Is my Stephen Gilmore going to end up on the soundbar?
Yeah. I hope so. Okay, so flip a coin, Hutchinson and Walker, or bet both, Andy?
I just bet Hutch, and I love Walker,
Brinson?
but
did you just bet Walker?
Me? No. I was thinking about how this year in particular with the awards was so bizarre because Kuechly won Defensive Player of the Year and Phillip Rivers won Comeback Player of the Year, and he was just coming back from He's like coming back from like sucking.
A bad season.
Yeah,
A suck season.
Heard it all. Yeah, it's so bizarre. Just a weird year.
It is weird. That is a weird year of voting. Wasn't a lockout year. That's strange.
Yeah.
Anyway, for you, if you
I'll
don't have,
go-
if you
I'll
can
find
only
a
have one, you want
first-rounder.
Walker?
I'll go Walker.
Yeah, find a first round pick who's going to have a bunch of opportunities to get sacks, or try to grab a couple long shots. Like, you don't have to go chalk. You can find some guys that you think have an opportunity in the system that they have to be starting. They have to be
couple
playing.
guys in chat pointed out Drake Jackson could be like 40-1. That's probably a decent look.
He's second string right now. Is that right?
Yeah, but I mean, you got Nick Bosa.
I think he's going to rotate into, and
Bosa,
if he's playing well, he's going to
Kinlaw,
rotate in more.
Armstead all on the front line there. He's probably 2A. I don't think he's losing snaps to any of these other guys that are in wave 2 there.
Just because of the price, it's not bad. And like that's one to watch too, where if he's playing really well, if he's like popping in the preseason, get it. If you're watching the 49ers week 1 and he's got 2 preseason sacks, get that bet in ASAP, because that'll shrink down. Like, as Drew said at the top, any action on like a price is going to shrink this market.
Yeah.
Is there a good defense that is consistently winning, in positive game states where they are pinning their ears back and letting guys go? Like I guess, is there a case to be made for a Jordan Davis? Is there a case to be made for
Davis? The problem I think with Davis is he's going to rotate in. I would guess they would use
snaps
a little bit like Georgia did, just because you got Fletcher Cox and he's the guy from the Steelers who now is on the Eagles. I forgot his name the other day too. He's really good.
I have trouble with a lot of the long shots here.
Javon Hargrave.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, he's okay. So Jordan Davis is actually fighting for snaps there. Okay, I see.
I just think they're not gonna take him from 50% of the snaps. And I will probably bet Jordan Davis because I love him, but I don't think they'll take him from 50% of the snaps at Georgia to 100%.
Shit, man. Yeah, 14-1 is not good enough price anyway.
Okay,
all right. So we'll leave it with it's between Walker and Hutch. I'll take Hutch just because I think you get the fact that you get 2 games against Chicago is worth something. And I think, but I think Walker, he did show some flashes last night. Surely he's going to be a problem, and just in general that helps my Jags optimism a little bit. What's next, Andy? You want to touch on offensive player of the year? Or should we jump right to coaches?
Let's do offensive player of the year real quick. This is turned into the runner-up for MVP, right? I mean, it's been a few years since a quarterback won. It's not been that long ago, but I looked at it. It's like, hey, right now, it's probably just the best offensive player who's not a quarterback. Find 2,000 combined yards. And really also, Peterson did win this as well when he got MVP. Other than that, it's the same kind of story. Everybody else has been on a division-winning team. The worst besides Peterson has been the last 2 years where these teams have been 4 seeds, but they weren't like, oh, this was a shitty NFC least 4 seed. Like they were 4 seeds with 12 wins, where everything was close again. So it has to be a good player who has 2,000 yards in him on a good team. I bet Jefferson because I found that 25-1. I think
that's good.
Minnesota has a high end, at least being a wild card team, being a division winner possibly, and he's probably MVP caliber in the right situation. I mean,
Dalvin Cook at 30-1 is a bet for that too. I think. He could be an absolute monster in this offense.
Yeah, I think the
first guy to ever win it, Drew. He shares his name with the Dallas Cowboy who won a Super Bowl MVP.
First guy to ever win this.
First guy to win it when they first gave it out in 1972. Shares his name with the Dallas Cowboy who won Super Bowl MVP.
What?
That's a very good talk show.
Larry Brown?
Exactly.
What?
Washington
there was a
running
Larry
back,
Brown
Larry
offensive
Brown.
player in the 70s?
He was a running back. He had a hell of a year.
Oh, wow.
I think he had 1,600
I can't believe
yards,
I pulled Larry Brown out of my brain. Was that 95?
Can you name the only 2 players to win this award 3 consecutive times?
Offensive player of the year 3 consecutive times. Marshall Faulk probably in the conversation.
Correct.
There.
Falk.
LaDainian Tomlinson?
No, much older.
Much older. Huh?
You're actually talking
Marcus
about it.
Allen?
No, that's a good guess though. He did win it.
Mark Mosley.
Walter Payton.
No, but he won it the year before this guy ripped off 3 in a row.
Okay, that's a good clue.
The 80s?
Earl Campbell.
Yes. Very
Yes.
nice, Drew. Very nice. Take that, trivia chat. Where you
Yeah.
at?
Yes.
Yeah, we should be writing
love
these
it.
down.
Yeah, so who's going to win their division, win 11, 12, 13 games, and find 2,000 yards beside
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor,
obviously.
absolutely deserved favorite. He could have 2,500 combined yards this year. Like, that's the ceiling is super high.
He should
there's
take.
extra
He's in
games.
his 3rd season. He should
Can you
take a
focus,
step
Will?
forward.
I'm trying. It won't let me do it. Usually it focuses.
If you're listening to this, that's probably weird. He's out of focus on the
He's
camera for
giving you
some
a hard
reason.
time. But yeah, no, I think Jonathan Taylor, if he's entering his 3rd season, if he does take any meaningful step forward in terms of statistical profile, it's going to be impossible not to give it to him, really. And I think there's a case to be made for him that is literally he's going to be so far separated from the next best guy that you're just going to have to kind of consider him, right?
Oh, yeah. I really think he wins this thing like 50% of the goddamn time.
So 10 to 1 is a good bet, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I might actually just take some to cover like a small bet to cover my Jefferson bet when he ultimately wins it. We talked about it a little on the Colts preview. He's actually facing an easier schedule of opposing defenses this year, and I think we're probably super fucked in this market because he might just, like I said, have 2,500 goddamn yards.
Okay.
See, I think there's like, I mean, I'm not saying that. I think there's
better. No, there's some good long shots to be taken.
Like AJ Brown 80 to 1 is a really interesting one if the Eagles are good and like he has a monster year. Volume increases maybe because he's out of Tennessee. Terry McLaurin finally has a quarterback who's like not elite but better than
Yeah. No, that's all fair. Let's keep cooking. Yeah. I don't have a ton of other thoughts other than I'll just say this: our good friend Jay Croucher, who's kind of somewhat masterful when it comes to award markets, made a very impassioned case for Lamar Jackson. Like he thinks a full season of Lamar Jackson, you probably see 4,000, 1,000. He probably breaks the all-time yard scrimmage. Probably breaks the all-time record for passing plus rushing yards. His offensive statistical performance, even if the Ravens are fringe playoff, should be pretty damn impressive.
And worth noting on that, when you look at these monster quarterback seasons, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Patrick Mahomes, they all won Offensive Player of the Year as well. Lamar had 17 votes to Michael Thomas's 19 votes in 2019 when he won MVP. So he very nearly won it, except Michael Thomas went 149 catches, 1,700 receiving yards, and the Saints were 13-3 in a very dominant year.
Okay, so we'll narrow it down to these 3 then: Lamar, Jonathan Taylor, and Justin Jefferson. All decent prices on those guys, frankly.
Well, luckily we're getting low on time because I didn't have a trivia question for comeback player of the year because that's depressing. Like I'm not going to be like, which guy had cancer, and I mean, what are we going to do with this? Like that, and that's what comes down to. Like Eric Berry, that it's crass to say some of this stuff, but like if he had a good year, he was always going to win that. That was an amazing story that he was able to come back from, a major illness like that.
If Alex Smith got on the field for one snap, he was winning that damn award.
Yeah, exactly. Correct. The Alex Smith thing. And a lot of the other ones is like, man, you missed like my notes under Alex Smith just says leg LOL. You don't have to have a great year. Sometimes it comes down to it is an inspiring story of being it probably better. It's like the Eric Berry is a better way to give the awards. Like that's an inspiring story of coming back and playing at a high level. But yeah, Manning, neck injury, Rivers, just a really big jump up compared to where they were and taking that team to the playoffs. Gronkowski only played 6 games the year before a 1,200 yard season. Barry, we talked about Jordy Nelson missed a season, came back at 1,214. touchdowns. Keenan Allen, basically the same thing. He had 1,400 yards pretty much. Luck missed a season, came back through for 4,500 and 39 touchdowns. And then Tannehill was a weird one too. I feel like that was based on he was a really high draft pick who had a bad 5 or 6 years in Miami.
He came back from
and he did have that, and then he had that injury season, and it's like, man, this is a first round pick, and he's in a new place. He had that season he missed, and here we go. And then obviously Joe Burrow was, that offense was electric, and he'd missed season to an injury. So
Tannehill tore his ACL, just like Burrow. Like if you
a
quarterback who tears your ACL and then your team is good, you're winning the award.
Was it the year before he got traded though? I feel like he played at Miami after the ACL. I could be wrong on that.
No. So late in the season, he injured his ACL. Late in 2016, he injured his ACL because he only played 13 games, and then they came into training camp and he never had surgery to repair it, and he tore his ACL fully in training camp, and that's when they had to go sign Jay Cutler. And then they traded him the following offseason because I believe Gase got fired.
Yeah, because he missed all of 17, but then he came back to Miami for 18, played 11 games. Yeah, so it was a weird, but I mean, you're right. He did have a catastrophic leg injury, plus he played for Miami.
He came back from Adam Gase, basically.
Yeah, he came back.
Very impressive.
Who's in your pool, Drew?
I completely passed on this one. I mean,
hard.
Derrick Henry's favorite. He came back last year.
This is, and you know what? You know what's stupid and why I shouldn't have dismissed this one so easy? These are the ones that people like us can actually influence because narrative matters a ton.
Yeah,
and we could realistically just talk about it and tweet about it for 4 months and put a guy in the conversation. Frankly,
my only comment on this one is. You laughed about Pickett being a favorite. Who in their fucking right mind put Deshaun Watson as fourth favorite? Who is voting for the guy who ejaculated on people who didn't want to be ejaculated on?
He's coming back from hand jobs. It's like,
I'm not going to vote for him.
That's not something people will vote for. So, there's some cases for a few quarterbacks, but they're short. Like Trubisky and Mariota, I could see it, but not at 16-1. Have fun with those.
You can't suck. You can't. It can't just be that you did come back. You have to come back and then not suck.
Mariota's a tough sell because it's not a good team. But there's enough pieces around Trubisky where that could be. Oh shit, it's like 18 again. They're letting him run, but it's 16-1. I'm not betting that.
The only guy that I like consideration wise, but I can't bet him at the price at the book I'm looking at right now is Sack Barkley. I think Giants offense is going to be better. Barkley's not going to be given the ball on obvious running downs where he loses 3 yards a carry. Yeah. Just fundamentally, his statistical performance of this year should look quite good. What do you think?
I think that the price on Travis Etienne that I'm seeing at 25-1 is a no-brainer.
Where is that?
Draft.
Okay. I found 35-1 here at Bookmaker. I'll get a little of that. He didn't
play a single snap last year.
I found a 40-1.
Oh, look at us.
Well, I found a 7. The Jaguars offense is just going to be better with Doug Peterson running it. I'm of the not a licensed doctor opinion that Etienne probably injured his foot doing a bunch of drills in training camp that he'd never done in his entire life before because Urban Meyer
did not need to do.
That he didn't need to do because Urban Meyer decided he needed to be a wide receiver. And now all of a sudden you have Doug Peterson. He's playing with his boy, Trevor Lawrence. I'm with you, Drew. I'm higher on the Jaguars than most people. And so that to me is a good price. J.K. Dobbins, if it was 20-1 or more, I think that'd be pretty good, but 14-1's probably not what you need. One that I think is it's not even on the board. So you maybe get that I see, you'd probably need somebody to quote you a price, but Geno Smith.
Just how many games is Geno Smith
we'll catch you guys
how many let's Will, how many? Yeah, I'll get you a price on that. No problem.
You just send me the money.
I'll bet that. Oh yeah. Well, I'll bet that for you. Where do you? Well, yeah. Well,
if Geno wins, if the Seahawks somehow win 9 games,
is that what the number needs to be? Let's say he starts 17, he needs to win 9. You think?
I was going to say 7. I don't think that's enough to do.
No,
I think he needs to win. I think a winning record for
He
the
needs to have
Seahawks.
counting stats. too. It
Etienne,
can't just be like the
breaks
defense
1,000
wins.
yards receiving, gets 1,500 receiving, or 1,000 yards rushing, gets 1,500 R&R. Is that enough?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
If the Saints win a bunch of games, Jameis will be popular. McCaffrey is an easy one.
That would make me angry.
Yeah.
But it would be worthy, I guess. Damn.
DeAndre Hopkins is hilarious. It's like
Yeah.
coming back from a PED suspension, like it's in the middle of the year.
What a comeback.
Will Fuller, if he lands in the right spot over the next month-ish,
Like the Packers,
I
and
don't hate
he's
that.
like Aaron Rodgers, like go-to deep field guy.
Yeah,
like,
what if a team with a good quarterback, a good offense who needs him, signs him? It's like Will Fuller's 50-1, but I can't bet him because he's not on a fucking team.
You know what? You know what has me on tilt, guys?
What?
I just got to come out with this. So I've made like 20 bets on this podcast already.
Oh, really?
I'm just firing away on these low limits at the long shots at Bookmaker, just because it's fun. And they and honestly, they opened all these markets as we were talking about. But they've been closed for a little while,
for me
and they're all boom, 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 open them all up. They have a most receiving yards market, and I wanted to bet Pittman badly there. He's not in the damn market. They have Odell Beckham Jr. and in this market, but not Pittman. They have Christian Watson in this market and not Pittman. Like I'm on tilt here, guys. Pittman
tough.
absolutely in the conversation for most.
Pittman is probably worth a little flyer for Offensive Player of the Year too. Like if you like him for most receiving yards, you probably get a better number at Offensive Player of the Year.
It's not crazy.
He leads.
I feel like Jonathan Taylor is going to vulture so many of his damn touchdowns.
Yeah,
and I feel like if the Colts offense is as good as advertised, it goes to Taylor in a lot of those realizations, even if Pittman's amazing. You know?
Yeah, fair. Here's one this is a wildly mispriced number. Carl Lawson at 60-1 on DraftKings
for comeback.
He tore his ACL. He's an elite pass rusher who is on a Robert Saleh defense, and if he plays 17 games and gets double-digit sacks, he's going to get some votes for that.
It's not crazy. Not crazy at all.
I just don't think that defense is going to be good. It's hard to get sacks where they're running the ball because the other team's up by 15. But I get it. Like I like it. I like the spot. And it's
Bookmaker
a good number,
didn't put fields in these markets, and they're super thin. Like just number of
I
players
like
listed. They're these are infinity hold. I should.
All right.
Other one that would make sense is Tre'Davious White. Bills have the best defense in football. Bills are the best team in football. There's no other obvious comeback story. He tore his ACL. He has some picks. Plays really well. I mean, that's 50-1. It's not a.
I feel like that only manifests if it doesn't go to Allen MVP though. Like once they give Allen MVP, I feel like the Bills are out of the running of all the rest of the awards.
No,
I don't
think so. No, I think that could be like I think if the Bills are really, really good, it's not outrageous to suggest that would
that they scoop multiple awards, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'm closing with Coach of the Year. Allie Sherman was the first coach to win the award twice, leading the Giants to consecutive double-digit winning seasons in 61 and 62. Will would remember this. Losing both championships to Green Bay. Where were the Giants' home games played during those seasons?
I'm not that old. I'm 36, thank you.
You are not.
I know, I'm lying about my age, everybody.
Nobody's got that?
Where were
the Giants' home games played in 61 and 62?
Polo Grounds?
Close. You were on the right track. Old Yankee Stadium.
Oh,
it's just weird.
Really?
Yeah. I don't understand how they just let. And again, I guess the Athletics were doing that as little as a few years ago. So,
Coach of the Year has an archetype, though. What's Coach of the Year archetype, Will?
Coach of the Year needs a big delta, unless it was last year. There's two ways. The way I looked at it, you really, really need to have a shitty year last year and make a big delta in your numbers. Some of them have been twice in the last 10 years. Teams have had 9-win improvements. Twice they've been 7-win improvements. There's been an 8-win improvement. And the 8-win improvement was a team that won the division the year before because it was the Carolina Panthers who were 7-8-1. But that team went 15-1. This award went Arians Rivera 4 years in a row because that's what it was a little while ago. But
Arians with two different teams, and one season
two different teams, and one he didn't even coach the whole year. Which again, that makes sense with what he did with that team having to step in. But the weird one really for me was probably last year. And that's where it's probably a little closer to like the defensive player of the year or the Josh Allen thing this year. Where it's like, man, they really wanted to give it to Vrabel, or he's someone that's been in consideration. They went 12-5 last year. They went 11-5 the year before. They were a good team. They won the division the year before, but they gave it to him kind of a cumulative award, if you would say.
Well,
It's Stefanski. Stefanski deserves it. That's where I wonder, and I will push back on the Bills thing a little. Like, it feels like there's a Bills coach that has, been talked about enough.
I think
it's like it's a cumulative thing, unless you have a team that overperforms last year's wins by like 7, 8, 9 games, then you give it to that guy, because it's like, oh yeah, you guys were shit last year and you're 11-6. Like, good job.
So here's where I'll push back on the Vrabel thing, is that they
overcoming the injuries. That's a thing, I guess.
No, it 100% is, dude. They didn't have Derrick Henry. They were like 7-2. When did Derrick Henry get hurt? What game was it? It was right. Bill Barnwell and I did a podcast, and we're like, okay, fine. We give up. Derrick Henry is overcoming the historical production of running backs with all these carries. And then like he immediately got hurt, and we looked like, did he play against the I'm trying to think what game he got hurt.
He got hurt in the Colts game, I think.
Oh my God, I forgot they signed friggin' Adrian Peterson last year. Yeah,
I think I made a joke tweet about that, and then somebody actually signed him. I'm like, oh no, like that.
So he played against the Colts.
It was the end of the Colts game, and they did it after the game. They found the fracture,
and they went, and they were, after that game they were 6-2. Yeah. They won their next 2 against the Rams and the Saints, both good teams. They lose to the Texans and lose to the Patriots, so they're 8-4 going into their bye, and it looks like the season is slipping away with no Derrick Henry, the focal point of your offense, and
Foreman's only getting 4.3 a carry at that point.
Yeah, and they don't look. This team is dead in the water. They might miss the playoffs after starting 7-2 or 8-2, excuse me, and they win 4 of their next 5, including beating the 49ers. Kind of bad. They played bad teams, and they got the number 1 seed in the AFC. Like, that's what it was, a recency bias. Win 4 of your last 5, because I think Zach Taylor was winning it until I don't think Vrabel was going to win it until after the bye when they went 4 or 5.
I don't know that Zach Taylor was ever going to win it, because I don't think they were going to give the Bengals 3 awards. Right? Like, they gave Burrow comeback.
That's tough, and people
rookie.
People
the
didn't
3rd award would
discuss
have
him
been
as a
rough.
good coach.
But yeah, I know the archetype here is exceeded expectations the most.
Yes, exactly.
And that's loosely defined.
Yep. That translates to both different things, like either overcoming something in season or overcoming, hey, this team sucked ass last year, and
exactly.
We won 8 more games than we did.
Which brings us to the final point of the podcast, and we'll close here. Will, who exceeds expectations the most this year?
I think, and also I do think that, like, if you're a first year coach, expectations can or don't exist.
Don't exist, sure.
So I think Kevin O'Connell checks the box.
Yeah.
Or a Vikings team that could easily make the playoffs. And if Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook have huge years, but not quite Offensive Player of the Year award years, Kevin O'Connell slots in there pretty nicely. The other name that I was thinking about was Pete Carroll. I know you don't want to hear that because they're not going to be good, but I think Pete Carroll is kind of interesting there. Andy Reid, expectations are high, but this is the lowest expectations have been for the Chiefs since probably 2013. So if Andy Reid were to go 14-2 after losing Tyreek Hill and all the AFC West teams getting so much better this offseason, there would definitely be a narrative push to give Andy Reid that award for it's like, you know what? The guy just gets it done. He and Belichick are, and Belichick actually, I don't think is like a crazy number. Reid is like 28-1. Belichick's 20-1. I think Belichick probably have to win the division for it to happen.
Belichick needs to get a 1 seed.
Yeah, probably.
Andy Reid does too.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Andy, who
Kevin O'Connell. Yeah, Kevin O'Connell is your favorite for a reason. That team won games, but it does have a very high ceiling. I've seen people make good cases for Sirianni, which
Kevin
he's
O'Connell's
still
not your
above.
favorite everywhere. He's 21 some places.
Yeah, he
They
has
say
moved
he's
to
hard.
favorite. This is one too. Definitely look at every single book you have, because it is all these award markets are so wildly varying from what, like the joke. I found a 30 to 1, I found a 35, I found a 40. Like
Right.
Sirianni is going to be in different prices everywhere. Kevin O'Connell is 7 to 1 at Bet Online somehow.
Jesus Christ.
Don't bet that. Don't bet. Dan Campbell's 10 to 1. Like those guys have taken a lot of money. Brian Dable.
Those are my two favorites.
I made a case for Brian Dable, but 9 to 1, like I can't do that. Sean McDermott at 12 to 1 because of what he would have to do. Like
He's 18 to 1 to DraftKings, but I mean,
yeah, he even at 18 to 1.
Cross them off.
I get it.
Cross off Staley.
15
Cross off. Yeah, cross off Staley. Cross off a lot of these guys. Hey, okay. We got to wrap it up. I know you guys are busy.
Doug Peterson's not a crazy one, but 18 to 1.
Oh, yeah. Doug Peterson's got to be in the conversation here. Yeah. Will, who gets fired first?
I have one ugly one quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Mike Tomlin.
No, stop.
Doing it with a bad quarterback.
Steelers aren't.
It's a good defense, and if the quarterback works out, they still have wide receivers.
The
I bet there's going to be
the expectations are middling, and their ceiling is middling.
If y'all love the Saints, why wouldn't you go with Dennis Allen?
I don't think anyone knows who that is.
I also don't think that. That was exactly my point. I don't think people. It'll take people a long time to realize that Sean Payton's not
the Raiders. Who's the head coach?
I know.
No. It'll take people a while to realize Sean Payton's not the coach still.
Yeah, Sean Payton's good. I just saw the movie with the malt cop in it.
Yeah.
The Tomlin thing is like that. There's enough pieces there. If they get good quarterback play, like that's a surprise team to make the playoffs again. It's ugly. It's not a good price. I wouldn't bet it, but that's my call. At some point during the season, people will talk about it, and he won't win.
Okay, that's fair. I actually agree with that 100%. Will, who gets the first pink slip this season, and when does it happen?
I mean, like Matt Rule, it should be like minus 400 to be the first.
Yeah,
minus 400.
I mean,
David. You don't think they're going to at least give him the season? You think they're going to fire him?
David Tepper like fired. He couldn't fire Rule yet, so he just went and fired everybody on his soccer team that he owns in Charlotte too. He fired the coach, he fired like the president.
Why didn't he just do it in the offseason if he was going to?
Because I think he's worried about the appearance of like firing the guy who's going to save the franchise after 2 seasons with no quarterback help. Like it would make it really difficult to attract anyone else to work for him. So they will probably give him the season, but if Baker sucks and is getting and they have an easy, they could start like 4-0 honestly. So Rule's probably not the correct answer. But I will say it's hard. You look at this, it's like so many teams have new coaches or established coaches or new quarterbacks, which makes it difficult you don't see coaches fired. Cliff Kingsbury just got an extension. He would make sense.
He just got an extension though.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. He just got
the GM.
I mean, that's happened before. We've done the extension.
Cardinals are too frugal to do that, I think.
I think so too.
I mean, the Lions love Dan Campbell. It's hard to find somebody.
Here's the
it might be the year where it's just right. Like it's just going to be Rule.
No, here's the archetype for first coach fired. The team sucks. That's all that you have to, all that matters. Throw everything else out the window. How many years you've been employed, when you got paid last, throw it all out the window. It's not even about not exceeding expectations. Like if you don't exceed expectations, you'll get fired at the end of the year. That's fine. But like we're talking about an in-season firing is your team sucks.
Todd Bowles would be an interesting one.
Yeah.
What if the Bucs start 0-4 and Brady is like getting peppered and they're like, we picked the wrong guy. We should have gone with Leftwich. And there's Arians in here to save Bowles' ass anymore.
That's not crazy. Especially if Brady is unhappy. And
Brady makes a little soccer trip to visit with the owners again, and all of a sudden the coach is fired.
But let's assume that it's not until Thanksgiving or later. Who is even what teams? Who did you say?
Mike McCarthy.
You think that they might be sucking enough that he gets the can before the end of the season?
I mean, Jerry came out and said he said multiple times in the last few years, I don't know how many of these I got left. You know, like I gotta make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think he gets fired at the end of the season, but I'm talking about in season. I think your team has to. We're talking like 1-12 type of record for an in season fire.
What was Wade Phillips
like Carolina
season?
Wade Phillips is the only time they've done it in season, though. Jerry doesn't like to. The Bears don't like to. Like
nobody likes to. He was 1-7 that year. Man, they sucked. Nobody likes to.
Yeah,
No.
I think.
But there's some teams that like to less.
Yeah, I really think that the pool of candidates has to come from only a handful of teams, really, and I think those teams have to be bad, right? Which is why I never understood why Lovie Smith wasn't the favorite, because I feel like the Texans are the easy answer as to who could possibly be 1-12.
They're really going to fire like 2 black coaches in 6 months, like.
That's the issue with the Lovie Smith one. It's like did they save enough face and do enough right by the world yet? One sneaky one I have.
They didn't want to hire him in the first place.
Pete Carroll's kind of sneaky.
One sneaky one is maybe they pull the plug on the Arthur Smith experiment right away. It's different people down there now. Like, the expectations are super, super low, but
Arthur Blank really wants to be perceived as patient, but
I know. But we've seen it, like if the team really, really, really underperforms even worse. We've seen this where it's like this guy wasn't even on the radar, and he's cutting an offensive coordinator loose in like week 6 to like buy some time. Like it's happened. I don't think it's super feasible, but it's happened before.
Oh, I'll tell you a sneaky one.
We don't use the word 0% ever, Dan. We don't work in absolutes here.
A really sneaky one.
Go ahead.
What if
the
reigning Coach of the Year winner is so fed up with his GM trading away AJ Brown, having Malik Willis foisted on him in the draft, has no weapons on offense, his team is struggling because the Jaguars are rising up and the Colts are really good, and Mike Rabel says, "F it, I'm out." Not that he's fired, but that he rolls.
They have changed the wording.
Would you believe he's in the top 6 choices?
Yeah.
He's 12. He's only 12-1 at BetOnline. Top 6. Yeah. That's absolutely bananas. And I also think Vrabel's in on the secret tank in Tennessee. I think he's part of it.
Or you think they're secret?
I like you have your Illuminati tank in Nash Vegas.
Yeah. I'm going to Nash Vegas next week, actually.
Yeah, I think that they are very clear-eyed about what they have.
Interesting.
Based on the way they've put that offense together.
I love my Colts division bet then.
Yeah, well, that's a very good bet, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have a lot of that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's wrap it up here. Good work, guys. It's almost 1 o'clock on
we made like 30 bets.
East Coast. It is happy hour for Will. Will, go enjoy your Friday evening, my man.
I started
already drinking
an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, well, now you can really let your hair down. All right, yeah, you guys. What do you have coming up? Where can people check you out? And thank you again as always.
Pick Six Podcast, daily NFL podcast. We're live on YouTube at 1 o'clock every day for the rest of eternity. We'll be doing live shows actually in Nashville, where Ryan Wilson is supposed to, and he's gonna flake. I know it. He's supposed to pay off his tattoo bet. He volunteered that if Ryan Finley beat the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night in 22, like not last season, but the season before in the COVID season, that he would get a tattoo, and Finley beat it. So he's having to get a Joe Cool Snoopy tattoo on his back shoulder. And we are demanding that I'm paying for it. Breach, prove the artwork. We are demanding that it's going to happen in Nashville, and we plan to live stream it. So you want to subscribe to that YouTube channel, youtube.com/pick6.
Sounds fun as hell.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And then on Twitter and Instagram at Will Brinson.
I love it, man. Well, Will, thank you. Andy, thank you.
Appreciate you joining us today.
Happy birthday again.
Happy birthday podcast.
Dan, let's hit the music. Well, that was as much fun as I was hoping.
I was pumped for awards.
Fuck yeah. God damn.
And this music just puts me in the mood to drink like a Mai Tai. Like one of the ones with like